Good morning, everyone. There were nearly 2 million new cancer cases diagnosed in the United States last year. That's according to an estimate from the American Cancer Society. The disease is hard on every aspect of life, and treatment can zap a patient's energy long after it's done. But new research suggests diet can help. Mandy Gaither has more on a study that finds food can help cancer patients fight the fatigue.
It's one of the most common complaints from those who fight cancer. Chronic fatigue can linger.
Even a decade after they have gone through their cancer treatment. So it's a very significant problem.
Registered dietitian and researcher Tanya Orchard with the Ohio State University Comprehensive Cancer Center says this fatigue can have a significant impact on quality of life.
Those who have this problem have higher levels of inflammation when we look at their blood.
Going off findings from previous research which found fatigue benefits from food, Orchard led a pilot study focused on a small number of lymphoma survivors. The majority felt less fatigue after adopting a personalized diet, gradually adding anti-inflammatory foods, which included omega-3 fatty acids found in foods like fish.
We're also looking at foods that contain nutrients like carotenoids, lycopene, beta-carotene, those types of things that have very high antioxidant properties, which can also reduce inflammation.
Orchard says B vitamins also helped. Those are found in produce like leafy greens and other vegetables. She says 5 servings of vegetables a day is the target, and your plate should be colorful.
A serving of dark leafy greens, a serving of yellow or orange vegetables, a serving of tomatoes every day, and then 2 or more other servings of vegetables a day.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Researchers hope to study benefits of anti-inflammatory foods in all cancer survivors next, and eventually plan to expand the study to patients who suffer from fatigue from a range of different health problems. All right, so the month of April is also known as National Alcohol Awareness Month. Data from drugabusestatistics.org say more than 16% of adults in Virginia over 18 binge drink at least once a month. Danielle Saita spoke with someone in recovery who's using her second chance to create a social setting for others like her who see the benefit of being present and sober.
Every story of sobriety is different. There's Christina Kimbrough.
I'm sober for about 3 years now, and I struggled with an addiction to alcohol.
And then there's Elena Thorstensen, who didn't have a drinking problem, but didn't like the way alcohol made her feel after the fact.
I was in that gray area where it was difficult for me to reconcile my health-conscious lifestyle with drinking.
A hurdle that both of them say they came across was learning how to create a healthier medium of having a social life without the temptation of drinking.
I don't have kids yet. I wanted to go out, have fun. I'm sober. I always say I'm sober, not dead. But that's where we found the need for the company, because it was where do you go?
Legally Different, a sober bar in Portsmouth, provides this sort of opportunity. Owners say they're going to be working with Elena and Christina as their business takes off. It's called Free Life LLC, and it offers events for sober people, giving them a taste of socialization. Christina says there are some advantages of being sober instead of hungover, like staying out of trouble with the law. According to the Chesapeake Police Department, there were 483 DUIs in 2020, and so far 4 months into 2023, there's been 82. The average number of deaths in the state related to excessive drinking is 3,071, according to drugabusestatistics.org. The co-founders say Free Life is much more than socializing and sobriety. The new company will also serve as a networking opportunity for work connections, friendships, and even finding that special someone, while also trying to break the stigma behind recovery and sobriety.
We're kind of just trying to show people we do recover, and then we live these full, beautiful lives afterwards.
In Portsmouth, Danielle Saita, News 3.
All right, this year's ski season is not over yet thanks to record-breaking snowfall in some areas. Alta, Utah has recorded an incredible 877 inches. That is the most in the nation. Wendy Gillette reports on this season from Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Mammoth Mountain in California is getting a mammoth amount of snow this ski season, shattering an all-time record. And the season won't end until at least July. It's the same story at many other ski areas in the West, including in the Tahoe region, which is experiencing its snowiest season since the early 70s, pushing back closing dates for weeks.
It's the atmospheric rivers we've gotten. They piled up one after the other this year. Most of them were cold storms.
Here at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort in Wyoming, the snowfall easily surpassed the seasonal average, making for great conditions extending into this month.
588 inches fell this season, just shy of the record 593 inches measured in 2016 and 17.
It's been amazing. We are the beneficiary of some of the best snowfall in the Americas.
This year's amazing season turned into amazing revenues for hotels like the Four Seasons Resort and Residences Jackson Hole, where we stayed for a special rate. The resort, which features a wealth of after-ski spots, cozy rooms, and year-round pools, is the only one right at the base of the mountain. Stays are up as much as 8% this winter compared to pre-pandemic 2019.
The moment we get quote-unquote dumped on, our availability goes from a lot to very little.
As snow totals rose, so did the prices of lift tickets, hitting over $300 at Arizona's Snow Bowl in January. One way to avoid sticker shock is to consider lesser-known resorts, like Snowy Range in Wyoming, where tickets start at $49, or the state's Sleeping Giant ski area, where you'll find tickets as low as $59. Jackson Hole has a program which reimburses airfare in exchange for money spent on activities that's likely to continue next season. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
And the heavy snowfall hasn't been positive for every ski resort. Some have shut down for brief periods because they got so much snow. It also increased the risk of avalanches. All right, don't mess with a mom. Katie Porter takes on Washington and her kids. That story is next on Mid Morning. All right, we're back. Democratic California Representative Katie Porter became the first single mom of young children in Congress after she was elected in 2018. Now she's joined the race to replace Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's retiring. Porter has written a memoir called I Swear, Politics is Messier Than My Minivan. Natalie Morales took a drive with Porter, and they spoke about her unique style of questioning powerful witnesses in Congress.
The drug didn't get any better. The cancer patients didn't get any better. You just got better at making money.
When Congresswoman Katie Porter takes the mic, she has a plan of attack.
That you're feeding us lies, that we must pay astronomical prices to get innovative treatments is false.
Her ability to challenge some of the titans of industry has made her viral and a go-to guest on late-night talk shows.
Are you exhausted from appearing in every Republican's nightmares?
No, I think that's a very comfortable role for me.
Okay.
If you're full of bull, I'm coming for you. Excellent.
Porter first ran for office in 2018, flipping an Orange County district long considered a Republican stronghold. She became the first single mom of young kids working in Congress. Luke was 12, Paul 10, and Betsy 7 when their mother was sworn in.
What advice did you get early on from your fellow members in Congress about how to do your job?
When I asked about the schedule, I said, can we figure out what we're doing? Because I need to tell my child care provider. They said, well, we just can't run Congress around people like you. And I said, what do you mean like people like me? Well, you have such a special situation. And I said, special? There's like 10 million, 12 million single parents out there. The only place where that's special is in Congress, not in America. We've got some sand from the beach.
This is the minivan from the title of her new memoir.
We've got a weird book from an ex-boyfriend. We have a project that I never had time to help my daughter with.
With personalized plates that read oversight, Porter says she's a rule follower while cruising her neighborhood near UC Irvine's law school, where she used to teach.
When you're in this minivan, do you ever rock out a little carpool karaoke?
Well, for a long time, I didn't have a working radio.
Oh, okay.
And maybe the Chicks.
Ready to run. In the book, Porter shares lighthearted parenting tales, but she also reveals a darker time as a victim of domestic abuse. She writes, "My ex-husband got angrier and more violent as the realization that they were divorcing became clearer. Porter slept with a chair propped against the doorknob."
It was hard to have to go back. Something that I just desperately wanted to have be in the past.
You also understood the importance of your voice to be that voice in Washington to talk about domestic abuse?
You know, when that kind of thing is happening to you, like I said, it's very personal, and you often experience it alone. Who do you tell? Who can you trust? And when I spoke out about it in the campaign, I was shocked and saddened how many people came up to me and said, you know, that happened to me.
Her kids have grown up campaigning, nicknaming her Congress Mom. When Porter won her seat last November, her son Paul introduced her to supporters, recalling his reaction when Mom first told them she was entering politics.
My brother and Luke and I looked at each other and said, this hobby isn't going to last long.
Are you worried about them reading the book?
Yeah, I let the kids read the book before it was published because I knew it would be painful for them. One of the things they said was, I'd like some time to consider my legal rights. And another one said—
Sounds like your kids.
Another one said, this is why I don't read memoirs. So they definitely are probably not gonna be leaving any amazing reviews on the book. You can get out flour and sugar.
Porter travels to Washington at least 3 times a month, so most meals are prepped ahead of time. And there's a whiteboard in the house. Congress Mom is now in a race being called a dramatic showdown to fill the Senate seat Dianne Feinstein has held since 1992.
It's been reported Senator Feinstein, who is 89, is suffering from cognitive decline. She has denied that. Do you think, though, there should be an evaluation of mental fitness for candidates running for public office?
So I think the solution to this is to make sure that every candidate, every campaign, the voters really have a chance to meet them, to test them, to challenge them, and to make their own decisions about whether or not to support them.
You said at the time you think it's time for change. So were
It is
you
time for
saying that it
change.
was time for change, that Dianne Feinstein was not up to the task of the job?
Well, what I'm saying is it's time for change, but we also need people who are new, who see the problems facing the next generation or younger generations, and that's why I decided to run.
Porter's toughest challenger might be California Congressman Adam Schiff, who played a key role in former President Trump's first impeachment.
You've called yourself a warrior. Are you more of a warrior than Congressman Schiff is?
Congressman Schiff is a career politician. I think I'm closer to what it's like to be a regular American citizen, watching TV or reading the paper and wondering, why the heck does Congress not work? Inflation is always complex. Anyone who says, and this is the Republicans all day long, inflation's bad. No Sherlock. Of course inflation's bad. I too go to the grocery store.
You are running for the Senate now, but are there perhaps bigger aspirations someday, the White House?
I think one of the things you have to do as a single mom is just solve the next problem that's in your face. But I've always been the kind of person who looked for ways to make a difference.
So sounds like you're very open to the idea or the suggestion.
Well, I'm not saying no, but I think it's silly to say no. I think government service is important. I mean, keep in mind, I'm 49 and I'm considered young by congressional standards. I'm not young. I've had Botox twice. Like, I'm not young. But by Congress terms, I am. And so I think it is important for new voices that often haven't been heard in our government, whether those are people of color, indigenous people, LGBTQ people, to look for those doors of opportunity and not be afraid to walk through them.
Katie Porter has been called the whiteboard wizard. Her children are actually fans of having one in their house where they say they can express themselves, and where Congress Mom often leaves them a list of chores. All right, coming up, this bike for this little boy is more than a gift. It is a lesson, and we'll share it next on Mid Morning. Welcome back, everyone. A 3-year-old boy was ecstatic to get his first bike, a Spider-Man model, but when his bike gets stolen, it's a real hero who comes to the rescue. James Corrigan has the details to this heartwarming story.
There's no feeling like when a boy climbs his first bike.
Yeah, look, good.
Especially one he can talk to.
Cranking, 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 cranking. Like it, go back in the puddle.
3-year-old Will Fuller Wright of Rockland knows that feeling well after his parents bought him his very first bike, one a bit more super than most. Why is Spider-Man your favorite superhero?
Because he saves Buddy by catching bad guys in the net.
But last week, on Will's first day out with the bike, There was one bad guy Spider-Man couldn't avoid.
My bike got stolen there.
We went to Walgreens and we stopped and put his bike on the sidewalk and went inside to get him a little candy treat and said, "Woohoo, you made it half a mile." We came out and the bike wasn't there. And I walked up and down the length of the sidewalk thinking, because there's those big cement columns, so I thought maybe I just couldn't see it, but it wasn't there.
Security footage showed that someone did see it and took it. Along with Will's mother, Liz Fuller Wright's faith in her fellow neighbor.
It was a mix of emotions. I mean, sad, disappointed, angry at the state of humanity. He's 3 years old. This is his first bike. And you don't want to think that anybody would do that.
Rockland police posted a surveillance video of the thief on Facebook to try and find the stolen bike. But what they found instead was something priceless.
I happened to put Facebook on and I saw that story about the little boy who had his bike stolen.
The woman you're hearing from is homeless and wishes to remain anonymous. She's based out of her car, which is where she was at an Oxford County gas station when she saw the news and decided to act.
What this little boy was thinking when he came out of that store with his mom and saw his bike missing, I cried. I worry about what that little boy would be growing up and thinking about the world. I went to Walmart and I purchased the one and only bike, got him the helmet, the lock, and then I took it to Rockland.
She spent what little money she had on the identical bike and dropped it off at the Rockland police station. The department's subsequent Facebook post received an overwhelming reaction, with the Mid-Coast Recovery Coalition now accepting donations for her as a means of thanks. But for Will and Liz, no amount of thanks would be enough.
I was able to give her a call, and we spoke for a few minutes. And she told me her story, and I couldn't believe it. She's not someone flush with cash, but she gave so much, so generously to a little boy she'd never met, never known, because she wanted him to be happy. She didn't want him to think that there were bad guys in the world. She wanted him to have faith in humanity.
If you were to meet this boy, what would you say?
I think I would probably just cry, to see the happy joyness in his face. And I'd probably let him know that no matter what happens in life, we go through our troubles, our ups and downs, but there's always somebody out there that's watching over us. He's never alone.
And so for Will, his first bike is now his second. And the superhero whose name it bears is also second to the real hero who showed a little boy that superheroes do exist.
And community members have collected almost $1,200 in donations to support this woman who gave all she had to young Will. All right, singer-songwriter Jason Isbell lays bare his professional and personal life. And alongside his wife, musician Amanda Shires, in a new documentary, Isbell is a former member of the band Drive-By Truckers. He left for a solo career with his own band, the 400 Unit. He has a new album out in June. Jason Isbell, Running with Our Eyes Closed, is now on HBO and HBO Max. And coming up, after all these years, they have a lot of catching up to do. Mid-morning, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This weekend will forever be memorable for a woman in Kansas City, Missouri. She was reunited with a sister she never knew she had until recently. Nathan Vickers has this heartwarming story.
Every arrival brings anticipation.
It's been very emotional and very exciting.
Melissa Hergert and her Aunt Deb Wittig are waiting for someone they barely know.
I'm nervous, anxious. My heart is pounding.
And yet their connection runs deep.
As a small child, I had heard that I had a sister that was given up for adoption. I wasn't really expecting that I'd ever get to meet her.
Melissa was less than a year old when her mother Linda placed her older sister Amy Leonard for adoption. In more than 50 years, the two sisters have never met.
Sister was pretty young and she was having a rough time, so she made that decision. She gave the child up for adoption.
Last fall, Wittig had started searching.
It was just this missing piece to our family puzzle.
And it turns out Amy had been looking too.
Oh gosh, there's somebody looking for you.
They arranged a meetup in Kansas City during her spring break.
I've always been curious. I thought this is the time to do it if I'm going to do it. And so I started kind of piecing together some information and realized I had siblings. I couldn't not reach out. I had to do it. Life is too short.
Amy and Melissa have talked a little bit virtually and on the phone, but this weekend will be the first time seeing each other in person and the start of a new journey.
From visiting with Amy on the phone, we have a connection and we have a lot of similarities.
It all turns out like wine, so we're going to wineries. We're going to have Easter brunch on Easter morning.
It is very overwhelming, exciting. There are absolutely no words for it. Just pure joy.
It's time well spent.
Just everything I thought it would be.
This weekend, their journeys brought them to the same destination.
We're looking forward to just actually getting to see each other face to face and spending time together and building that relationship.
For a reunion decades in the making. In Kansas City, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Be sure you stay connected with us. We'd love to hear from you. We will see you back here next time. Have a great day.